All right, welcome everyone. This is part of a webinar series with fCxO. This is the second part that we're doing after 3 months. Here we'll share, like, am I audible, right? Thomas just confirm. Perfect. So here we'll tell about like a common fCxO journey, how that goes within NGO. This time along with us, we have Farmers for Forests. If Thomas, you can get to the next screen. And So today, along with me, we have three speakers here. I'll introduce quickly to them. First of all, my name is Mohammed Shamoon. I am a software developer at Project Tech4Dev. I'm in the Fractional CxO team, and right now I'm also working along with Farmers for us. Today, along with me, we have Thomas Sampley. He's one of the fCxOs at Project Tech4Dev, and he's working right now with Farmers for Forest, along with him, we have Kritika Ravishankar, who's the co-founder and executive director at Farmers Forest, and we have Praveen Muli, who is the VP and research at Tech at Farmers for Forests. Just before this journey, I'll just share the outline of the webinar. Initially, we'll share what Project Tech4Dev is, and within that, what Fractional CxO program is, how that has been working with an NGO, and we'll hear from the on NGO side how this program has evolved and worked for that organization. So we'll start with the Fractional CxO program, just the highlights. Thomas, you can start there.
Thanks, Shamoon. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Farmers for Forests and Fractional CxO program webinar. Like Shamoon said, we'll start off with what the Fractional CxO program at Tech4Dev is and what we try to do. So we've identified over interactions with NGOs over the past several years that there are 4 foundational problems that NGOs find difficult when dealing with technology. First, strategy is a significant problem. Although most NGOs nowadays know that tech is an important part of their journey and they need to know and use tech to make their processes more efficient, to scale their impact, and to grow their programs as a whole. Unfortunately, tech strategy is not part of the organizational DNA. So they don't know necessarily how to navigate challenges in systems, in processes, and in people dealing with tech and making tech part of their impact journey. When you look at solutions that are required to be built as part of social impact, they're often very expensive to build. They're very difficult and complex to understand. And because of those, it's hard to maintain, and often you end up with poor quality. I think most NGOs can speak to that to a certain extent. Similarly, when looking at data, which is often foundational to building tech systems and leveraging tech systems to increase impact, data processes, data systems, the data collection methodology, the data that's collected itself are often either, I don't want to say just non-existent, but the practices there are often quite immature, and that leads to long-term issues when trying to leverage that data. And finally, I think we all know how hard it is to find tech people, especially at a senior level. And once you find them, they're very hard to retain. And of course, tech workers are generally quite expensive, right? So the solution here to help NGOs deal with these problems and navigate their way to make things better is we've found that providing tech leadership that works closely with NGOs, usually within a 3 to 9 month engagement, helps level up that tech journey for nonprofits. And we say 3 to 9 months, but often this ends up being more around the 6 to 12 month range, right? We also make it a point that even at the end of that 9 to 12 month, whichever it is, if continued support is needed, we will stay on to make sure, at least in a minimum capacity, to make sure that that tech journey is progressing as needed with the NGO. So high level across most of the organizations we worked with, these are the focus areas we generally look at. Of course, it changes organization by organization, but there is usually some tech and data systems. There's usually, and this I'd like to stress, that there is a lot of experimentation and learning. We try to make as much progress iteratively and incrementally as possible so that the confidence with which the NGO builds and learns how to leverage tech is incremental and it's steady, right? There is often an aspect of information governance that means how do you collect data, how do you store data, how do you make that information then available across whoever needs access to it, how do you protect data that should be protected, and so on. There's often a internal infrastructure component, and although the symbol here is a Wi-Fi symbol, this usually means what the tech systems that are internal facing. It could be ERP systems, it could be communication systems, it could be securing those systems, it could be digital asset management, and so on. A very important piece with most nonprofits is that tech organizations are small within the nonprofit or NGO, and therefore a large part of the tech work is actually outsourced. And how to deal with vendors, how to make sure that that relationship is geared for success is often a very important part. And side by side with that, if there is internal capacity needed, we'll help with that as well. So this is what a normal fCxO engagement plan looks like. When it says inception, we actually engage with the NGO to start with a few hours of quite detailed discussions on what the tech challenges are, right? From those learnings, we come up with a proposal that's worked out with the NGO and put in a plan for those 3 to 9 months, right? A very high level plan with specific milestones that address the challenges that we've identified. So that's the inception part. Then the fCxO, we identify the right fCxO within our team that fits in well with the needs of the organization and has the capacity and time available to actually then implement that proposal. We start with identifying gaps, opportunities, and this results usually in a formal tech assessment document that lists those out. We very often, I'd say almost all of the time, start with short-term quick wins. This builds confidence in our understanding of what the challenges are and how to deal with them. And it also builds confidence within the NGO that they can address these issues, these tech challenges with the support that they need, right? That then helps inform a holistic tech strategy and, more importantly, a very concrete tech roadmap for the next year, maybe 3, right? We try to say a year is very clear. Beyond that starts losing clarity incrementally, but that first year should be pretty solid, right? And this is, again, our drive towards making these engagements sustainable even after we leave. So we try to level up the capacity in terms of how do I think about what I need to do next and how do I plan for the next 1 year to 3 years. So that our interventions are not just at this high level, we also make sure that we actually make progress on implementing this roadmap, right? Including specific technology systems and also hiring for making sure that those interventions are sustainable. And finally, we would like to leave the nonprofit or NGO with having leveled up and transitioning out of needing us at all. right? And so then that flywheel should be in motion already, and that can sustain for the long term. A really great thing of our work so far in the sector is that we've been able to uh, work with organizations across the impact sector. And this is great for our understanding of the sector. We also leverage that learning from each of these engagements on how we can make individual organizations better. So we try to adapt learnings from different verticals, different SDGs into each organization we work with. And in fact, within our fCxO team itself, we have weekly meetings where we share common challenges or specific challenges, and then we decide together on how we can address those challenges in the sector. So that's a great thing for us as well as for our mission of impact. So I'll hand over now to Kritika, who'll go through Farmers for Forest tech journey so far. Kritika, over to you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Just give me a minute while I figure out how to share my screen.
This is a green bar at the bottom.
I figured it looks like the Tech4Dev support has helped in multiple ways. Sorry, bad jokes, but are you able to see my screen in full, or should I? Okay, you can see it, right?
I guess.
Awesome. So hi, everyone. First of all, thanks to the Tech4Dev team for giving me the opportunity to talk about our work. Always appreciated. I'm Kritika. I'm one of the co-founders at an organization called Farmers for Forests. And let me just tell you a little bit about what we do and how we use our tech. So before modern agriculture started in India, that would be around the time of the green revolutions, for hundreds and thousands of years before that, this is what an average farm would have looked like on the planet. However, a growing population, especially in India, meant that we had to transition from this more multi-layer biodiverse farming to farms that look more like this, right? So these are farms that are typically monocultures of one crop, a lot of chemicals, etc., used to ensure that there's good yield. Most of them are very water intensive as well. So while that has worked really well to feed our population, we're now faced with another problem, which is that 30% of our land today in India is degraded. Now, even though this seems like it's a really big problem, and it is, there's actually a pretty simple solution to this, which is you can actually implement biodiverse agroforestry on the ground, which is what we do. Right. So a little bit about what biodiverse agroforestry is. It's essentially mixing crops with a variety of different trees, right? So you mix, let's say you have a ground crop of black gram or pulses. You mix that with a whole variety of fruit trees. It can be mango, lemon, tamarind, papaya, etc. And then you also have boundaries of timber trees. You can intercrop it with shrub trees like papaya and moringa. So it's this beautiful biodiverse model where you're using a whole variety of different species. Now, why is biodiversity important? I don't know how many of you invest or are interested in the financial markets. But if you have a wealth manager, or your wealth manager will tell you how you need to diversify your financial portfolio to reduce your risk and increase your return. Similarly, we're like those annoying land managers for our farmers, where we keep telling them that, hey, you need to biodiversify your land so that you can become more climate resilient and earn more money at the same time as well, right? So the data that we've collected from our program so far, as well as if you do like a literature review of agroforestry, in most of these cases, farmers are able to earn 4 times as much per acre as they would in traditional agriculture, right? If they adopt this more biodiverse model. But it's not just that, right? This model also removes 4 times more carbon. It uses less water, less fertilizer, less labor. So overall, it's like a great model. But, the question that we often get is, okay, this sounds great. All of this looks amazing, but why aren't more farmers not adopting this, right? Like if this is actually that great, why are more farmers not doing this? And when we did work on the ground, we actually came across these 3 main challenges right now that we are trying to solve. There are more challenges as well, but I won't get into it right now. But the first thing is knowledge, right? So because of now at least 4 or 5 decades of doing monoculture farming, the knowledge of intercropping, the knowledge of doing 5 or 6 different crops, mixing different things is lost, right? Not a lot of farmers have it. Secondly, even if you have the knowledge, high quality inputs like seeds, organic fertilizer, drip irrigation systems, these are just not available easily in your local agriculture shop. And finally, even if you solve the top 2, most farmers don't have the financial means to put in that investment to move to this model, and they don't even want to take that risk, right? Like, why would you put that much money into a model that you don't know very well? So that's essentially where Farmers for Forest comes in. We first essentially identify farmers who are facing land degradation, who are facing these issues. We then bring them into our program, provide some training on some of these things. We then solve the other problem, which is we essentially subsidize the cost of this model for them. So farmers pay a small amount, we subsidize the rest, and we actually provide them with these inputs. All right, so these inputs that are not available in their local agricultural shop now become available at our warehouses or with our field team. We then actually collect all the data once this agroforestry model has been implemented on the ground. We then use the technology to collect all the data of impact. And we then use that data to essentially connect our projects to the carbon market, right? Why do we do this? Why do we spend so much time in collecting all this data and then connecting it to the carbon credit markets? Because we figured out that the carbon revenue is actually a great way to pay for our work at scale, right? So with the carbon revenue now, farmers have 2 sources of revenue, first of all. They can get money from selling the agroforestry produce, and then they can also get money from the sale of carbon credits. So in addition to that, we also have a couple of other programs that we work on. Agroforestry is our largest program, but since all of our tech is actually focused around agroforestry, I'm just going to talk a little bit more about our agroforestry program. So stay with me there. So in our agroforestry tech stack, which is the model that you just saw, we actually have 3 levels of technology that we use, right? So at the first level, we actually use Kobo, and we have something called fCxO, which is an internally developed app to actually collect this data from the field, right? Collect data from farmers. We then have a product called Tree Lens, where drone imagery is taken and that's analyzed to essentially quantify impact, right? So what was carbon removed? What is the biodiversity of these plots? And finally, our last product, Impact Dashboard, puts all of this data together in one place for farmers or for carbon credit buyers, all of our funders. So just a few screenshots of some of our technology. So this is, for example, a screenshot of what fCxO looks like, right? So here it's tracking at each of our sapling warehouses where all of our saplings are stored, which get given to farmers. What is the stock of saplings, etc., available there? I'll talk a little bit more now about our second product, which is Tree Lens. So essentially here, this is, let's say, a standard agroforestry plot in the field. Here you can see there's a mix of trees planted. There's mango, there's custard apple, there's papaya, there's one coconut tree as well. So essentially, multiple high quality images of every single one of our drone plots is taken. Most of those images look something like this. The algorithm, there's an algorithm that our team uses then to count the trees and identify the species. So what you're seeing in the image here, the different colored boxes are the algorithm identifying different species of trees, right? So here in the red box, you can see this is a mango tree. Here in the white box, there are papaya trees that are identified. So for every one of our plots, every single tree is first counted and the GPS location of that tree gets taken. In the next step, we actually calculate the height of that tree. And then we also look at how healthy those trees are. So this is a multispectral drone image that shows the NDVI, or the normalized differentiated vegetation index, for one of our plots. So this data is also taken. And finally, all of this data is put together into our impact dashboard. Now, again, the reason for collecting some of this data, the reason for collecting the tree count, the tree height, is actually to be able to, and the tree health, is to actually be able to estimate carbon sequestration and survival rate, because this data is then provided to carbon auditors. So just towards the end, and of course, we'll talk a little bit more about our technology. Right, so the technology is really important to us, because if we have to reverse degradation in 30 million, 30% of India's land, which is 40 million hectares, that is 20 million farmer families that we would want to impact. And there's no way that impact can happen through one organization like us, right? So for that impact to happen, there needs to be a very robust tech stack that people trust. This tech stack needs to be available to multiple organizations that are working in the field, so that we can all work together to reach this target. And the tech stack has to be open source, because it can then bring that transparency that is needed for more and more finance, either from carbon standards or from the government or from philanthropy, to flow into this sector. And if all of this, if 30% of India's degraded land is actually restored through an agroforestry model like that, that has the impact of actually removing 800 million tons of carbon a year. Just for context, that is equivalent to taking every single car in India off the road. So it can have a massive impact on India's carbon footprint as well. So that's sort of the idea or the vision behind which we started doing this agroforestry work, which is that we want to implement this program at scale and remove essentially very, very large amounts of carbon. So that's it. I'm going to stop there. If you'd like to know more about our program, please scan this lovely QR code with the dinosaur, which will take you to our website. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Thomas. Do you want to share the screen or shall I share?
Either way is good. If you want to share, go ahead, please.
Okay, I will share the screen. You should be able to see my screen, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, let me just present this. Yeah. So Krutika mentioned on the Parmosar forest and what we are doing on the take at the Parmosar forest. So some of the challenges that we are facing 1 year back, that I will explain what are the challenges that we are facing 1 year back and how we have solved that. So first on the challenges part, so as Krutika mentioned that we are collecting the drone data and we are using the AI ML for the estimation of tree detection and estimation of the carbon sequestration. So in the last year, we had model for the tree detection, we had model for the species detection and estimation of the carbon sequestration. We are using this model for the in-house, for our in-house monitoring and estimation of the carbon sequestration. But as Krutik also mentioned that there are many organizations working on the similar thing on the tree plantation and the afforestation. So these are the one challenge that we are not able to provide service to them. And if some organizations want to analyze the data, if some organization want to use our model, they has to send the data to us, and then we used to analyze that and we used to send the results. So this was the one challenge. So basically we had the AI model, but which was not production, it was not in the production, and which was not live for anybody to use. The second challenge was that uh, for the all of our implementation, we have developed the impact dashboard. This is how it looks, but all of this is data is the dummy data that we have added. So we had front end ready, all of the data was the dummy data, but we wanted to use this dashboard for our the real data for the real implementation that we have done. So some of the challenges on that, we didn't have the data of that quality. There was not data pipeline. So it was another challenge, and because of that, we are not able to get the real data to this impact dashboard. There are another challenges or the which are foundational to the previous two challenges that we have seen. One is on the data collection pipeline. As I mentioned, that there was no data collection pipeline. Because of that reason, that we are not able to connect all the data that we are collecting to the dashboard. Second is that there are multiple data sources that are having which are not connected to each other. Another is the data access and visibility. So we're collecting the multiple data, but all the data are not visible to the field team, and some issues that we found to the data. So these are the challenges that we are facing in the last year. On the second part, so we had quite limited team capacity. So same people are working on the multiple different projects, and also had the multiple different projects on the multiple skill set. Also, one limitation was that so we had quite a limited capacity on the DevOps side or the deployment and the software development part. So this was the another reason that we feel the need of this program. On the product development lifestyle, we noticed that so we are spending much limited time on the prioritization, product design, planning, and testing, and much of the time we are spending on the implementation. Because of that, we are facing some issues in the final product. So I think these are the challenges that we were facing in the last year, and we decided to have the fCxO program. Then Thomas can continue on that, how we started the program, then how we move ahead on that. Yes, Thomas, yeah.
Thanks, Praveen.
Do you want to?
My screen.
Yes.
Just give me a second.
So are you resharing the screen?
I think you can continue sharing, Praveen.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So yeah, as Praveen said, and I had mentioned before, we first look at the challenges that the nonprofit has, and then we form a proposal based on that. And these are the four major areas or major challenges that we wanted to tackle. And these were the four fCxO focus areas. So overall, even though it's not explicitly stated by the challenges that Praveen mentioned, there is generally a need for having a long-term strategy that aligns with the organization's overall mission, vision, and prioritization, right? So that's always a kind of holistic approach that we have. We try to leave the organization with a technology strategy and roadmap. So that was one of the focus areas, and that's often a focus area that's common across all NGOs we work with. The second was having a scalable architecture, like Krutika and Praveen mentioned. If Farmers for Forests programs are to scale to the requirements of impact, the underlying tech infrastructure has to scale with it. So developing that kind of scalable architecture was a primary focus area for us. Foundational to that, of course, is the data management and analytics goals. Without having foundational data systems for actually making both the impact dashboard as well as the tree detection and carbon sequestration estimation models available in production. Without that data management platform, it's going to be very difficult. So again, that was our third focus area. We look at making sure that anything that we implement is always sustainable in the NGO. And if part of that is actually building internal capacity, which it often is, that is also going to be a focus area for almost all NGOs, and definitely was identified as a focus area for Farmers for Forests. So 30,000-foot view of what our timeline for our engagement looked like thus far. Again, these are highlights. It's not every single nitty-gritty detail. But we started with doing a deep engagement in terms of people, processes, field visits, working closely with the team, especially the tech team on site as well. And that really helped us understand the problem at the depth that's required. We then started with quick wins and really foundational kind of data modeling and upskilling requirements. And I'll go to some of the detail there in the next couple of slides as well. We then looked at the key technology decisions that needed to be made for both data collection, engagement, and production deployment of some of their more advanced tech systems. The next part was actually immediate hiring requirements, right? So since data was foundational, we looked at how can we build a stronger data team. And this finally, with these few months of understanding, we could then do a formal tech assessment document, which then leads to a strategy and roadmap. We actually made quite a bit of progress on deploying the existing machine learning models into production and making it available, at least the backend available for automated processing of these drone imagery, right? We also then deployed a pilot version of the WhatsApp chatbot for farmer engagement. And this was initially, it was more for collecting data on farmers that were interested in the agroforestry program. At the end of about 6 or 7 months, we decided to switch to what we call the fCxO team model, and Shamoon came on board to actually accelerate the implementation of much of what we had started. Shamoon worked not only on accelerating implementation of tech systems, but also hardening and making more robust project management processes and introducing tools like GitHub project management, GitHub projects for project management. Now we're in a stage where we are hiring for tech leadership. In fact, tech leadership CTO has already been hired. We are hiring for software and data teams, and the deployment of these products that were identified, at least V1 of each of them have actually been deployed or in use.
Check. Check. Hello.
Sorry, Ashwin, I'm just going to mute you. There seems to be some background noise. So as we do this, even though there are 4 focus areas that we look at, we try to make progress in parallel, especially for Farmers for Forests. We found that doing all 4 in parallel actually helps us understand what is needed and helps us with early learnings on where to adjust as well, right? So I'll go through each of the focus areas, but you'll notice that the left side, almost all 4 was worked on in parallel, actually. It's not one by one. It's not in sequence, right? So like I said, deep engagement with the Farmers for Forests team. We looked at program and operations deep dives. We did HQ visits. Very importantly, we did field visits to actually gain an on-ground understanding. This is very important for all the NGOs we work with. We also did tech systems and code reviews. This led to, like I said, a formal tech assessment. We identified that these three major areas where we want to make progress, which was building capacity, making sure that tech projects are sustainable, and then building the data management systems that guide the foundational layer of data that is needed. And finally, at the very high level, we formulated a tech strategy that gives kind of guardrails on any tech project. That means guiding principles such as one, sustainability, cost effectiveness, a prioritization guide, who are the key constituents, and by key constituents meaning when we work on tech projects, who are these tech projects serving, and how do we use that as a prioritization guide, right? And then finally, the tech roadmap, limiting that vision to have maximum clarity for 1 quarter, but putting in a roadmap for a year. So the first quarter is very clear exactly what systems we're going to build, who the resources are that are going to help build that. The next quarter, a little bit less clarity and so on. So that was our approach here. On data management and analytics, we started with looking at key questions that need to be answered. We then looked at what kind of data are we collecting right now, what kind of data needs to be collected, and then modeling that for how we can leverage it, both in terms of what do dashboards look like, and as well as in terms of what applications that are built on top of that data look like. The implementation, concrete implementation of that is, of course, a data pipeline, consolidating data in one place, transforming that data to look at, to reach those production models that we looked at, and then automating all of that is still a work in progress. The applications, like I said, have already been built on top of it, but it's all just V1 of each, right? We will make iterative progress on this as we go along. So with the early learnings, we can then do the scalable architecture that's needed, but the kind of capacity building here that was very important and that is always going to be important across all the organizations we work with is start with solid requirements analysis, right? Whether it's for data collection, whether it's for internal systems, whether it's for advanced tech systems, without defining requirements in a way tech teams can understand, it becomes very hard to estimate how to build reliable systems that actually accomplish the goals you're looking at. So this is always an ongoing process. How do we make sure that we as a team can understand how to define program requirements in a way that tech teams can build on top of it? So I think here we made a lot of progress in the last few months, and it's again, continuing work in progress. System design questions here, build versus buy, make sure that things are minimally available, meaning make progress on tech systems. Like I said, we've done V1 of all of the products that we've identified, but make sure that even that V1 is extensible later on, right? So we've tried to build systems here that we can build on top of, even though it's the minimal requirements right now. And like I said, cost effective, sustainable by the team at Farmers for Forests, even after the fCxO program engagement is over. Highlighting here again, iterative development, start small, build on top of it, learn from the mistakes or deficiencies in the tech system. And so we've made a lot of good progress there. And over time, I think our deployments have gotten better and better. Again, highlighting here that we took a conscious decision in every system that we built as a collaborative team to deprioritize things that I wouldn't say unnecessarily complex, but too complex for what is the current need. So we try to push out stuff that is not needed immediately so that we can accelerate learning first. Right? And then finally, as part of all this, like I said, it's a collaborative environment, right? So we start with basic training on software development, best practices, and the tools that you can use, project management, hygiene, and so on. But the most important part is that we do not work in silos. So for everything that we did at Farmers for Forests, we made sure that we are part of the tech team, and the tech team is taking that journey with us, right? So we're moving together. And for when the fCxO team's engagement is over, whatever tech team has been built in Farmers for Forests continues with that same momentum. Part of that is making sure that hiring is supplementing those goals here. And there we identified data team first, like I said. Tech leadership was part of it as well. We started early with tech leadership hiring because that often takes a long time. A learning across most of our organizations here is that mid to senior software developers are quite hard to hire for, right? And so that's why you see this in gray. We are still on that path of finding good, strong mid to senior developers. The last part of the transition here is the transition from a good prototyping organization to a strong tech product organization, which is what is needed specifically for Farmers for Forests. Not all NGOs need this, but Farmers for Forests does. Farmers for Forests does because it's a very tech-driven organization, right? And so their agile teams planning for each product separately made a lot of sense, and that's kind of the upskilling that we did. I think back to you
Yeah.
now.
Yes. So continue to what Thomas has explained. So where we are now and what are the results of what we have done in last 1 year. So the first part is that, as previously I mentioned, that we had ML model that we are using for the tree detection and carbon sequestration estimation, but this was not public. So we have deployed this ML model, and now anybody, any organizations can use that. So any organizations who is working on the uh, tree detection, sorry, afforestation part or the tree plantation, so they can collect the drone data, they can upload it here, and they can check the results on the number of trees and the amount of carbon that their plantation has sequestered. So this is live and open source. Second is that field HQ. So Kritika has also mentioned. So we had previously developed, but we have upgraded with the second version of field HQ with the more stability and adding some of the additional functionalities that we have done in the last year itself. Third is the WhatsApp chatbot. So previously, as Thomas has also mentioned, that previously there was some requirements. So we have already call center. So in the call center, farmers used to call, and there was requirement on the program. There was requirement on the listing the name of the interested farmer. So we thought that WhatsApp chatbot can solve this problem. So we have WhatsApp chatbot live that any farmer who is interested in the program, they can message to the chatbot. They can get the reply on the information of the program. They can ask their FAQs there, and they can also register to the program via WhatsApp chatbot. The fourth is that so we're also doing the pilot with the Avni in one district in Maharashtra. So we just wanted to check that, just wanted to explore that how we can use the Avni for the data collection part. So that we have recently started, which is also ongoing. On the data automation, Thomas has also explained that our aim was to have all the data streamlined. So we have done the data automation in using the DBT, and now most of the data is streamlining, and all of this is connecting to this dashboard. And now here you can see the similar dashboard that I have shown, but these numbers are the real. So these are the actual implementation that we have done. Here you can see the 1,000 hectare of implementation in the different districts in Maharashtra, and respective number on the carbon, socioeconomic impact, and respective plot details you can able to see. In addition to these products, we have done much improvement on the system and processes. This includes the product requirement documentation, code review documentation, reduction in the ad hoc change request, better estimation of the product development plan, and also improve project management. This is one example. So for the project management, now we have started using the GitHub projects, and I think it has really helped us to streamlining our work and having good system. We have hired the 3 team member, including the CTO. VP data engineering, data analyst, and chief technology officer. These are the 3 team members that we have hired in last 1 year. So now we are confident that we have the proper system and processes. Now we have the team, and we can able to solve the issue of. So now there are much gaps in the farmers and the carbon market, and these are the reasons that limited visibility, trust, transparency. So last 3-4 years we are already working on this, but now we are confident that we can achieve our vision of bringing carbon market closer to the farmer and bring it into the hands of the farmer with the help of the drone, satellite data, and AI technology. Yeah, thank you. We can discuss if there are any questions. Happy to answer that.
Now's the time if you want to ask any questions, or you can just message on chat if okay. Yeah, Anshika.
Okay, thanks for the presentation. That was helpful. What I wanted to ask is, does the process include helping organizations budget for their tech needs, and also with specifically fundraising for tech? Because that does seem to be a challenge in terms of getting funding for tech specific. In Farmers for Forest, I think their model is tech driven, which makes sense. So it's probably more easily sold or more easily convincing. But in general, does the process include budgeting and support with fundraising strategy as well, specific to tech needs?
I can take that. In general, it's more of advice on what budgeting looks like. That's always part of it. Definitely is, as well as hiring, budget for hiring, not just for tech systems, right? In terms of fundraising, it's not really a primary objective, but when there are questions, of course, we're always happy to advise. What I want to specially mention about Farmers for Forests, though, I think, if I may, Farmers for Forests does this very well, where the tech team, in fact, the entire organization gets involved in fundraising from a early point, right? The entire organization is quite involved in it, meaning not spending a lot of time per se, but everybody has input, which has led, I think, if I may, to a lot of success there. So that's really important. I think in terms of what tech requirements for fundraising are, it would be great if tech input, especially if it's a proposal that involves a lot of tech, if that tech input is obtained much earlier in the life cycle of the fundraising process. Often I see it comes, a day before or 2 days before we have to submit this grant. Can you give me tech input? It's too late by that time, right? You won't get a good answer there.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. More specifically to the Farmers for Forest team, if you have any pointers for pitching for tech when you're fundraising, that will be helpful. Not right away, even if we can take this offline, I'm happy to take it.
Sure, I can maybe just say a few points and then happy to also connect offline for a longer discussion. I think you rightly mentioned that tech is a very fundamental part of our model. So I think one of the reasons why, because it sometimes feels in an application that you don't really need the tech, but you're just like applying because there's a tech grant. So I think if you're really able to tie in to why that tech is really crucial for your model to succeed, I think that really stands out, because when a lot of people are evaluating these applications, I think they go less into the depth of the tech. I mean, it depends from grant to grant, but for a lot of them, they really look at how is technically for what you're trying to do. So if it's very hard, I think, to get grants for just like, say, putting in place basic systems, right? Like if we need like Zoho, for example, or ERP, I think we've really struggled with getting grants for those kinds of things. But if there is for our agroforestry tech, because it's such an integral part of the model, it's been easier.
Thank you, Kritika. Thank you, Thomas.
Hello.
Hey, yes, Abhishek. You can-
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. So I have one question. So I wanted to understand a little more. How much support does Tech for Development provide in implementing the suggested tech, especially if I talk about our team does not have that much of a skills, and what kind of hand-holding or implementation support can we expect to ensure smooth adoption?
So I'll answer that in two parts. One is, like I said, the experimentation part is very important. So if it's early learning or early leveraging of tech, we start with this kind of pilot or experimental kind of implementations. If we see that there is a need actually for a more involved kind of tech team, and that capacity is not there within the NGO yet, like I said, we actually have this fCxO team model where a mid to senior developer actually comes on board and works with the fCxO to do exactly what you're saying, right? Somebody who can come in and quickly implement things and get you on the path before we judge whether that capacity is long term or not, and then help you with hiring if required. Does that answer your question, Abhishek?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll wait for one more minute if somebody has any question. If not, I think then thank you all for attending. I'll just share a fCxO interest form. If somebody is interested, they can just like quickly go through that, and we'll share this over email as well.
So one last question. Sorry. What is the deadline for the application?
Toss or take. So,
There's no deadline per se. We open these up every couple of quarters, but it is rolling. It's always open. The question is on our side is whether we have the capacity to actually start an engagement. That's the only limiting factor. So if you have an immediate need, there are three things that we highlight that are necessary. One is tech should be one of your strategic priorities. Two is there should be strong commitment from leadership, both in terms of time and also in terms of budget that is required, right? So if your priority is tech and you need to actually deploy tech systems, there has to be some budget both for hiring as well as implementation. Actually, those are the three. I mentioned all three at once.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's rolling. So if you have a need and if these three things are clear to you and you have a very strong idea of what tech systems you want, please fill in that application as soon as possible and start that conversation with us.
Sure, sure.
All right, I think with this we can close up the call. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Kritika, Praveen, for joining this call. All right, take care.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
so much, everyone.